The SS Monterey arrives in New York Harbor with 6,500 members of the famed Timberwolf, or 104th Division. These men fought from the beaches of Normandy to cross the Rhine at Remagen under the leadership of General Terry Allen, whose command won fame for the capture of the Eckfeller-Stolberg industrial area. The Timberwolves really snarled. Although most of this unit, the 413th Infantry, will go to the Pacific after further training in America, they will first get furloughs home. They have carved a niche in military history and in the hearts of proud Americans.
Over 50 years ago, in 1955 and 1956, my grandmother, Ramona Rosewell, was growing up near Mount Pleasant, Texas. It was in this environment of post-war nationalism, consumer culture, unity, and many other varied emotions that my grandmother was able to rise to prominence in her local area, becoming well known for her ability with the fiddle as well as her singing talents. She won several state and local contests in both fields, participating in several Army recruitment efforts as well as a few celebrations of our nation's veterans. In this documentary, I will be able to look more deeply into my grandmother's role in this time period, examining how the public interpreted events such as the recruitment drives. I will look into how the efforts for morale boosting affected those in the local area. I will examine the experience of veterans and how they might have been impacted by such celebrations, and I will look into the time period itself and how women and young girls played a role in this important post-war era.
As he returns from the wars, he represents, once again, the best of America.
I'll begin with how my grandmother grew up. She was still a young girl in the midst of the war, and her parents were most certainly aware of it. The war was pushed as the civilians' war, and even though those back in the United States were not directly fighting the war, they certainly felt the pressure of it. Food was rationed, raw materials and supplies were conserved, as they were more important now than ever before. But most everybody in the country was of one mind, and according to Sylvia Whitman, author of Vias for Victory, they wanted to defend our people. Citizens volunteered to help defend the nation, following Pearl Harbor, and those who were left were equally invested. They built bombs, helped work in factories, and so on. Posters were plastered everywhere to try and keep morale high. This is the environment my grandmother was raised in, one of intense patriotism. Her parents had impressed upon her the value of liberty, justice, and the American way, and she grew up without access to everything that a young girl could want. So with the wrapping up of World War II, she was encouraged by her parents to go out and perform, something that she was not only very good at, but also something she had a passion for.
I just want you boys to see what you're fighting for, that's all.
All they do now, a doctor looks in each ear, and if they can't see each other, you're in. And if they can, you're an MP.
Several groups were attempting to increase and promote morale during and following the war. One of the more well-known being INSA, the Entertainment's National Service Administration, who would operate out of Great Britain. Their goal was to help the soldiers stay positive overseas, as well as provide something for them when they came back home. My grandmother was doing much of the same at the time, appearing at a local Paris, Texas radio station to sing in a broadcast that would go out to radios all over Texas. By touring around and attending several events sponsored by the American Legion, the largest wartime veteran service organization, my grandmother would also appear at several Armistice Day ceremonies, helping those present relax, while recognizing the sacrifices of those who served in both World War I and World War II. Eventually, Armistice Day would be renamed All Veterans Day, or Veterans Day, to celebrate the veterans from all wars. There is an excellent book on the beginning and end of World War II titled Tattooed on My Soul by several authors who all served and spent time involved in World War II. One of the quotes that stuck with me that relates to the environment back in the United States was this: "The one thing I liked back then that we ain't got now, the whole nation was one family. Part of the family had to go to war, and to fight the war, and to win the war. The rest of it stayed here, made, produced, melted, made all the sacrifices, had all the victory gardens, and built what it took for us to win the war." Ramona, my grandmother, was one of those who stayed home, who made sacrifices and helped where she could, as part of the family. The country was more connected in those last years, 1955, 1956, and onwards, than it had been ever before. And my grandmother was part of that significant period of time where unity and the cause of the America that everyone believed in was more important than ever. And, most importantly, it was a cause that she had helped contribute to.
Late, picking her up in my 88. A shag going down by the social hall. When the joint starts jumping, gonna have me a ball. I'm gonna rock it up. I'm gonna rip it up. I'm gonna shake it up. I'm gonna break it up.
following the Great Depression made the resurgence of the economy brought on by the war seem even more incredible. Women had joined the workforce in amazing numbers, becoming involved in areas they'd never tread before. African Americans and other members of minority groups had demanded and received better positions than they had ever held in the past. People returned from war demanding a better America, the America they had fought for, the America they had died for, and growing up in that environment was my grandmother. Though her role in directly influencing this better America was limited due to her age, she served the valuable role of celebrating those who returned. She was able to bring positivity into the lives of veterans who witnessed terrible atrocities and been through the horrors of war and returned.
The ball tonight.
Texas, after the war, also changed dramatically, with the influx of money and immigrants into the area. The culture changed and evolved, becoming more of a melting pot than it had been ever before. Manufacturing plants had popped up all around Texas and remained open following the war, and many military personnel who had trained or stationed temporarily in Texas ended up living in the state permanently. People also had more free time in the years following the war, spending their time at festivals or fiddle contests or things of that nature, making my grandmother's involvement with such festivals and competitions post-war even more relevant and significant.
Not the first, not the second, not the third, not the fourth, but the fifth. Army's where my heart is. He's somewhere on a beachhead, which must be lots of fun. I can see him in a bathing suit, basking in the sun. From a cute signorina, he's been learning to talk like a real native of Rome. She's a very tasty dish, but my baby no capiche till the fifth army comes home.
When it was all said and done, my grandmother's fame in the area of Texas where she grew up and toured and competed in local competitions played a large part and was representative of a lot of the culture following the post-war narrative of World War II. Many people came to know her and came to appreciate the talent she brought to the area, and she served both the functions providing a level of happiness for people as well as making them recognize that the sacrifice given by others in the war was important, mattered, and was meant to be valued. She herself would grow to become an amazing and wonderful woman, with strong character, with strong moral convictions, and an even stronger heart.